Hello, guys and ladies, and welcome to the Invariance.Poker podcast. Today we have Randi here, who's a local Dallas female poker player that recently just won the TCH Saturday Big One. Is that what they call it?
Yeah, yes.
And it was for over $19,000, I'm correct?
Yeah, 19.5. It was a $365 buy-in. So I fired 2 bullets, which is kind of a low end for me. So, but yeah, 19.5.
And I was at the table when I overheard they were talking. Basically, you held the chip lead from beginning to end, never really let it go.
Yes, I starting from the first break on, I never let the chip lead go.
So is this your first, like, a big win, or have you had a bigger win before this?
No, 2016, I placed 19th at the WPT $3,700 main event at Choctaw. That was like a 30,000.
Okay.
So this is my second biggest. I placed second at TCH on July 4th, and that was a little bit over 11,000.
Okay, so this is your first placing?
First place. As far as this is my biggest first place. Like, I've won tournaments, but this is my biggest first place finish.
So let's talk about your poker history first, because we want to reach out to the more the female poker players and try to encourage them to look into poker, because I think poker is coming to more light, where it's a positive perception of poker now.
Yes.
So how did you get into poker, and when did you get into poker?
Well, even as a kid, I always loved playing cards. I'd sit there and play cards with my dad, and any type of card game, any type of game, really. I'm very competitive, which is a good thing. It's gotten me where I'm at now, but it can also be a burden, because I hate losing. I hate losing more than anybody on this earth. So poker was a way for me to have that competitive edge. I mean, have that competitive, compete. Yeah. So, and there's no, like, anybody can win at poker. You don't have to be the biggest, even the brightest. You don't have to be the prettiest. So anybody can win at poker, and I love that aspect.
Yeah. So what game do you prefer? Because you and I met at cash games. 'Cause I don't play tournaments.
Yes.
So do you prefer cash game or tournament games, and why?
I like tournaments. I'm a tournament player. I just think that if you get in a cash game with somebody that has deep pockets, like, it's hard to beat that. Yeah. They're going to win eventually. Tournament, I just think it is the purest form of poker. Like, it's last man standing. And again, it goes back to I like to win. And I don't know if you saw, I don't like to chop. I hate chopping. And my therapist is like, you're not addicted to poker, you're addicted to winning. And I hate to chop. I like to be number one. I like to be the winner. I like there to be a competition, and I like to be the best in that competition.
So as a female player, what are the advantages and disadvantages? I know, like, for you, but though, because you are different because you have a more of aggressive style, whereas other females tend to have a more of a passive style.
Yes.
So for you, what's the advantages and disadvantages, and then tell us what's for the other females that other style.
Okay, so for me, when people around here know me, so it's hard for me to act like I don't know what I'm doing. But, like, when I go to Vegas and people don't know me, I can play the dumb, ditzy female that's kind of like, oh, let's see if I can beat this. And but soon with my aggressive style, they pretty much realize that I pretty much know what I'm doing. For the passive player, the disadvantages is guys don't like to be beat by women. They don't. I mean, a lot of them don't. And they'll they just want to, felt me. So they'll play with me. But again, sometimes I just have to wait on my spot and get them back. The only thing, the passive players, people will take advantage of the passive female players. So it's hard for the passive players to make a go at cash. Tournaments, not so much. Tournaments kind of play themselves out. But, I've never been called passive.
So Do you think it's like it's an advantage for women to pretend to be passive so that the men can back off, or would you rather have the men kind of like you said, don't like to lose and actually?
No, I like them going at me.
Going at you.
Yeah, I like them going at me. I can tilt them, and I can kind of use that to my advantage.
Yeah,
and plus, I have just about a month ago, I had a guy shush me at a table, like, shh, why are you talking? Why don't you go where women should be?
Wow.
At TCH.
Yeah.
So, I kind of shut that whole place down. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen me go off before, but it was not a pretty sight. So, and that's another thing about passive women. They're intimidated, and sometimes there's a good reason to be intimidated.
Right.
Some men are like rude and mean. But again, I'm not if they're that way with me, I go right back at them. And other females just have a hard time doing that. That's why I think that the women poker tournaments is actually like a really good thing. And a lot of men's like, if anybody can win it, why do you need a women's poker tournament?
Okay.
And that's just to grow the game. That's to grow the game. That's to get get women more comfortable into getting into the more male-dominated tournaments and male-dominated cash games. It's only going to make poker better for everyone, including the men.
So basically the women tournament kind of give them an enclosed environment to be comfortable in, where they don't have to deal with all these aggressive men and kind of like put all these
Exactly.
mean stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's a lot of men just think that it's sexist. Like there should, if there's not always an all men tournament, why should there be an all female tournament? But the argument is mute. Getting more people in poker is good for poker,
Right.
and that is the only way you're going to get women more comfortable playing poker, is to start out at tournaments just for women and then build them up to where they feel more comfortable sitting at a table full of men. I mean, there's only 5% women players compared to, there's not very much. And not only that, younger female players is even smaller than that. Like it's like 2.5, 3% female players in their 20s.
Yeah.
So we have to get women involved in poker.
Okay, so tournament is probably where we want to focus on encouraging women to enter and not the cash game.
Yeah.
Which I also agree, because I personally, if there's any females at the table, she's usually the people that we target, because they're like you said, they're the easy money.
Yeah.
And
but women can take advantage of that. Like that's good. Like again, you play a lot higher stakes, so you're probably not. If you get a female at your table, they're pretty much gonna know what they're doing. But at the 1-2 table, yes, a lot of males target the women.
Okay. So for your game personally, like how has your game evolved because you played for a long time? How has it evolved in the past and now? Like what did you struggle in terms of your improving your game then, and what do you see you struggling now?
Okay, so I'm a very emotional person, so I struggled with the emotion part of the game. And I'm getting better at it. I still kind of wear my heart on my shoulder, my feelings on my sleeve, and people don't have to worry about what I'm thinking. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. So I had a problem with that. And then bankroll management is huge. The game aspect is, like, I can get that down. I can get the math. I can get that down. It's more of the emotional and the bankroll management. So, and again, I'm doing better with that too. Yay me! So, the $20,000 and $11,000 win is a little bit easier to do bankroll management when you have something to manage. But anyway, so those were my two hardest aspects. As I get into the more the deeper stack tournaments, what I'm having problems with, but I've gotten better, is changing my style up midway through. Like, I always chip up. I get a huge stack, but I don't know when to change gears. And I keep with my aggressive style, and then inevitably I get in a couple hands and I'm short stacked. So That's what I'm really working on now, and I'm working on, ranges into positions, and not actually trying to put people on exact hands, but on ranges.
Right. So let's latch onto that concept of emotional, because women tend to be more emotional and men tend to be more, you could say, logical. So is that, do you notice more women being emotional and having emotional, like that's the number one, I guess, problem in their game is emotions?
Well, I disagree with that statement. I don't think women are more emotional and men logical. I think women are more logical and men are more emotional, especially at the poker table. I think I'm a phenomenon. Like, I will go back at you 10 times harder than you come at me. I don't see many women that do that. There's a couple that I do, but most of them just are more quiet, demure, and like I'm gonna get it where it hurts. But I think that I really think the women are more of a logical than the men at poker. I've not seen many women go off and lose it like I have men at all.
So women have better emotional control at the table.
I think so. I think that women do. Me excluded.
So then let's because our podcast is actually about mental wellness and mental health and a lot of things that correlate to with poker, and emotional control is one of the things that we actually talk about here. So and one of the things that I actually talk is that poker is an outlet to work on emotional control. Have you heard about it, or do you know about it? Or you talk about it yet?
About the emotional control?
Like using poker as a way to practice emotional control and emotional development, because what we said there's nothing in real life that allows us to draw out or trigger certain emotions.
Yes.
Whereas at the poker table, we can trigger certain emotions like joy or anger or tilt and stuff. So that in those moments, that way we get to practice emotional control. Whereas in real life, things are happening in real life. We're not gonna sit there and I'm gonna sit here and watch my breathing and just pay attention to my emotions. Whereas the poker table is an opportunity. So have you considered something that?
I mean, no, I'm up. Anything that's going to help my game, I'm always for, and in real life too. Like, not only on the poker, I can get triggered on the in just real life. As some of the surgeons I worked with, I'll go toe to toe with them. So I think that's a great way to turn poker into a way that you can help in just real life and dealing with emotions. I think people don't put enough stock into, if you have high blood pressure, you go to the doctor. If you have a headache, you go to the doctor. If you have a cut on your finger, you go to the doctor, get stitches. But they don't take care of their emotional well-being and their mental well-being. And that, to me, that is just as important as physical issues.
So, earlier you mentioned your therapist, right?
Oh yeah.
Has she what exercise or how is she working with you? And I'm assuming it's because of your inability to control your emotions is what.
Yes. And it's really hard for me to walk away from the poker table losing, and I know in my head, you're not going to win 100% of the time. There's variance. You just can't. It's not going to happen. And not so, a little bit in tournaments, but even in cash, it's just hard for me to walk away. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't know if it's because I'm the youngest of 4 girls, and I feel like I always had to kind of fight for my place. And and I'm very sports oriented. I played sports growing up. But, and then again, I made some bad moves with money when it comes to poker. So I just wanted to get control of it. And she just really no exercises, just, said that, we just talk. I don't know. There's really no exercises.
So she didn't give you any methodologies and steps or things that you could do to actually exercise?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like whenever I get tilted, like get up, walk, get away from the environment. Take some deep breaths. She talked about breathing and taking some deep breaths and just count. But I haven't really put that into place. Like it's hard for me. Again, if I lose, it's hard for me to get up and walk away losing. So. That I am working on it, and I have gotten better with it. So I'm going to look at your podcast. I didn't have time. Work has been crazy, but I want to listen to like your breathing exercises and stuff. You said that you did a podcast on that.
Yes. So what I tell people most of the time is like, poker is actually an environment for us to develop our mental training, mental development. Like. Every time you could say one iteration is like one hand, one.
Yeah.
So I tell people whenever they're not in the hand, what they could. So poker's game is observation. So we need to practice our observation, and then when we practice our observation, what it would do is it would increase our perceptions. And the reason we tilt or we get upset is because we don't see the picture clearly, right?
Yeah.
We tie the results to our us, like, okay, I misplayed this or I'm upset. Whereas if we slowly start working our perception increase, we could start disengaging our emotions and stuff from ourselves. Like let's say when you get tilted, you could say, okay, you could, if you able to perceive things, you could see the chain of events, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the card came out and I the chips went in, and then I lost, and then all of a sudden this emotion started to be triggered. Just by seeing that, you could see the chain of events, and then you go back and say, and then you realize this is gonna happen, and then it's just being able to see it. You don't have to actually do anything.
Yes.
But you have to actually
see that this is variance. The person has a 16% chance of winning, so 16% of the chance of the time they're going to win. But if you get your cards in good, and that's what I'm working on too, is I'm trying to not be as results oriented.
Right.
And if I get my hand good, and they draw out on me, that's going to happen, and we want that in poker. If we had everybody that were playing only 86% chance of winning hands, then there would be no money to be had.
Right.
So, and I don't ever really go at anybody with their play.
Right.
I mean, that's one thing, but what I have an issue with people is when people are berating other people at the table.
Right.
I have an issue with that. So, I am getting better with not being results oriented. I was always results oriented. I got it in. They pushed, they caught, and they hit their two outer. What am I supposed to do? Well, there's nothing you can do. You played the hand how you should have, and you lost. So because they had a 8% chance of hitting, unfortunately, the 8% chance of them hitting was on you, against you. So.
And that's when a lot of people tie all the results to themselves. They're like, oh man, I lost, and then they get all these. So poker really brings out everything that shows us our flaws, right? Like for example, most of the time we get tilted or upset because, like you said, we either have an ego problem or big attachment issues. Most of the time it's because we sense this loss. So, and it causes, and all this perception, right? Like if you step away from the game for a minute, you just watch the action. Like, okay, player one, you're a player in the seat one, player 2, and you just watch the action. Well, that player lost, and then you could actually just stay objective and not actually say this I lost. You could say player 1 lost.
Yeah.
And so there's a good quote that say the observer is the observed, and it's hard to see it from the live perspective. But if you imagine yourself, whenever you get upset, just imagine yourself watching yourself playing. So then you can see yourself as a third perspective, and it will help you be more objective and not tie yourself the game to yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And again, like I get upset with myself. I don't get upset with other players, but I do have to. I put so much pressure on myself at being perfect, at like winning, and kind of like. I'm the female at the table. I have to like show up for the females.
Yeah.
So, I've been trying to kind of go a little bit easier on myself. So, although that's hard.
Well, the therapist did say something that's really important is that the deep breathing.
Yes.
Because and one thing I also try to encourage people at the poker table is stretching, because a lot of times we don't realize that we're stagnant. We're kind of like stuck in our mindset, and deep breathing is actually helps you refocus. And then the stretching is because there's a lot of tensions and everything. If you just get up and just
and walk and stretch. Actually, I'm doing some poker coaching, and that was one of the things that the poker coach that I was listening to was talking about. That really the things that can help your game so much is, number one, drinking water, like staying hydrated, and then the breathing and the stretching. He was a big proponent of just getting up and stretch. Whenever I was in that big tournament, there was this one guy that, we were on the third day and we were down to like 25 people, and he seriously got up and like started doing calisthenics and stretching, and I'm like, that is so weird. But now I'm like, damn, he knew what he was doing.
Do you do yoga?
No, I'm not a yoga person. I'm more of a kickboxing type girl. Used to be, but no, I have not ever done yoga.
Well, because I just got into yoga after COVID, and it has helped my game a lot dramatically.
Really?
Because yoga and poker go really hand in hand together, because you can actually do yoga at the table, but yoga is not. People think yoga is not meant for me because they don't do the kind of exercises where yoga is more of the internal exercises where you're moving with your breathing. So this is really the first step to helping you be aware of your breath, because the one thing that I always tell that it's important is, if you're ever upset or anything like that, just go back to your breath. If you watch your breathing, you will bring your mind back to now. Because,
to your core?
Yeah, because most of the time when we're frustrated or upset, it's because our mind has been pulled either to the past, you're rehashing a hand and you're playing it, and then all this memories and causes emotions to arise, or you're thinking about the future where you're like, you're anticipating and you're anxious and everything. So then negative emotions arise, and then we start expressing it through, through our actions and voice.
Yeah.
So by focus on your breathing, you actually bring your mind to the present, and that's the state of mind, that's the peaceful mind that people always want.
So since you've been doing this yoga and you said it's helped your game, so you have seen an increase in your in your ROI in the game?
Yes. So my endurance has gone up dramatically. Before yoga, I would only play 5 days a week, and I could only play maybe 8, 10, sometimes 12. Now I could play 7 days a week, and I could go 12, 14 hours, and it doesn't bother me.
Oh, really?
Because if I ever get tired or stagnant at the table, I just get up and start doing about a few yoga stretches. And then people say, well, yoga's not for me, and I tell them, well, if you could bend over, that's pretty much yoga.
Yeah.
But then all you gotta do is bend over and start taking deep breath, and then focus on your breathing.
Yeah.
And you will realize that how much that it'll bring you everything back into one place, and it'll calm you down.
Yeah.
And that's where really you could do it at the table all the time.
Okay. I'll look into that. That sounds interesting. So.
Because this is why I brought you, because I kind of knew that your main struggle was emotional control.
Yes.
And at the same time, if we could use poker as a way to work on our emotional control in an enclosed environment with every hand, okay, I'm going to practice, and then sometime I'm going to take a break from this, and then I'm going to practice. All throughout the day, you could practice this emotional development and mental development.
Yeah, mental awareness.
Yeah.
I totally get it, and I do need to do it when it comes to playing cards or getting beat and so forth. But I'm never, if I see another person berating another player like that, it's time to get your fist up, because I don't. That's when that guy that said that to me, it was because he was berating this older gentleman that I don't even know if he spoke English, but he was just being so mean to him, for a minute and a half, and I was just like, listen, that's enough. We don't need that. And that's when he got upset, because I kind of called out his play because he was not a good player, and then he said all that stuff. Yeah. But I think that, yes, you need to stay in control, but then there's times where you have to stand up and take action. And if I see somebody treating another like that, then I'm going to then I'm sorry, excuse me, but fuck the breathing. I'm gonna go after them.
Yeah. Sorry, my daughter just called, texted me.
That's
Sorry.
all right.
So I do that. That happens to me all the time too. Where I'm pretty much, I don't like, if people attack me, I don't really respond. It doesn't matter. But when people do talk about other people, it sometimes some reason it does trigger me as well.
Yes.
But there's been times where I actually use that moment, because a lot of times I tell people our opinions don't really matter. So yeah, we're upset that they're picking on it, but then if we're jumping into it, we're really just expressing our opinions as well. And sometimes I use that as an opportunity. Yeah, I really want to express my opinion. I'm right here all the time. I'm like, you're not doing anything wrong. But you could sometimes use it as a way to self-control, and like, I'm going to hold back, even though I'm right, even though I have deserved to talk. It's a way to practice where you don't get to be right and have to hold yourself in, right? And that's actually more important than when you're wrong and then you hold yourself in, because that's easy, right? I'm wrong, I'm gonna hold back. But if I'm right and I have to hold back, that's when you really require that special effort.
Yeah.
And these little special effort is what's gonna develop us, take us to the that hump.
Yeah.
Like doing things that are comfortable that we know could do really doesn't take us to that over the hump. You have to challenge yourself and do things and put out that special effort. And I would recommend, like, whenever you have that urge to express yourself, use that as a moment to say, the most important thing right here is don't let an opportunity go to waste.
Yeah.
To use this to not express anything. And every time you do that, what you can notice, you get a little bit stronger in holding back.
Yeah. I will try it, but whenever somebody's being mean to another person, I just don't think I can. Sometimes you kind of sometimes you have to stand up.
You do.
Sometimes you have to, and especially if another female is at the table, or my heart smiles for elderly people. Like, I love elderly people, and if I see an elderly person being chastised or berated at the table, like, I can't keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to be able to keep my mouth shut. But whenever people, even when they talk bad about me or say stuff to me, like, I could be able to hold it in a little bit more and not give them what they want. I agree with that. Just my personality is going to be hard for me to do that, but I'm going to work on it. So I'll work on it, and hopefully that'll help my game out too.
If it's not hard, it's not rewarding.
That's true, and I always tell my daughter this, that anything that's worth having is worth working at.
Yeah.
That it's if it came easy, everybody could do it, and I think she is a better person for it. That's what my dad used to always tell me. So my dad's kind of the one that got me into poker, and I always told him I was going to win him a ring or a bracelet, and he passed away in 2016, and then I got third in a WSOP event. I thought that was going to be, like, in that January at Choctaw, right after he passed away. I thought, this is going to be the time I get him his bracelet and stuff. But I didn't. But it's going to be this year. It's going to happen this year.
Eventually, and then we'll have you right back on here.
Sounds good.
And then we're gonna talk more about where your progression with
my emotions and my
development.
breathing, and not slapping people around at the table.
Yeah, but I think, remember, just one iteration at a time. Don't try to, and then don't be too hard on yourself. Like, remember, you have to disconnect the person from the actions and the emotions.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Where the hand and the whatever happens on the poker is actions.
Yes.
But you as a player is not the same.
Exactly. Yes, and I do. I'm really hard on myself. Nobody can be harder on me than myself. So and I do, like, I will get down on myself if I've gone several weeks and not won a tournament, or not won, like, in a cash game, because I like to win. Like, it's like, I love to win. So I'm working on that too.
Okay. So the final thing I do want to say is, so the key is perception shapes reality, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you could increase your perception, you will better your reality.
Yeah.
So, and game. The poker is a game of observation and perception.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely that.
And if you get better in poker, you can also get better in life.
Yes, yes.
Right?
I agree.
So thank you, Randy, for joining us, and I enjoy the conversation, and I hope that more female poker players join us. And
Yes.
if I guess for anybody that has these same, I guess I don't want to call them weakness, but I guess problems in their game, because when I first started as well, I had an emotional issue, tilt, lack of patience, and I went to hire a mental game coach, Jared Tindler. So it helped me a lot. So I understand how much mental game is a part of this.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, we used to play together 10 years ago at WinStar and stuff, and then I have seen your progression of you at the table, and you're always like poised and just relaxed, and I've wondered, God, is he high? Why? How does he stay so relaxed and just chill? And
It looks that way. There are moments where there's raging emotions inside, but I use that as an opportunity to work on myself.
Yes.
I use myself as an experiment, and the results are there. So I encourage people to walk the walk, and the results are in the pudding.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Well, I'm gonna try it, Tommy, and then we can meet up again and see how it works out.
For sure.
My husband right now is like, there's no way she's gonna be able to control herself at the table, but I'm gonna give it a college try.
One iteration at a time.
One iteration at a time.
All right. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.